she fuck good, I might treat her to
A Crime and Justice TV production. Crime and Justice TV, broadcasting from Brixton in South London, United Kingdom. Inspiring a generation.
Brazilian weave bezeled carties, I fuck me some proper O's. Hand on my wife, she ain't gotta know them shoes on her feet. Drug deals, what's got a dose? Honest bro, I hate the fucking hood. I want a penthouse suite out in Monaco, till then I'll be grafting. My mommy knows what I do, I don't ever understand why she asking. G's in my borough, forgot the games about getting out the hood and dropping peas to your mother. My brother, I'm a yak boy, everybody know this. How we coming with a 20 bag Rolex? Let me find where this pussy boy home is. Lock off his old shit.
One day I was feeling, got me thinking about my niggas that be locked in the window. Move, I will show them how they single. I tell her, hey, lily, I drop your tingle. Fine boy, no pimple, hey, lily. She says she keep on hearing my ringtone. Fine boy, no wrinkles, hey, lily. Baby really hate my ringtone. See, these niggas can't do it how I do it. Pop champagne in the club, it's nothing new. It's a mad thing, this is how we roll. We shut things down everywhere that we go. Now Alicia wanna all of me. She never really wanna know when I'm nobody, yeah. I can never get tired of living this lifetime, living on my champagne swimming. See my night jack and her money. Keep talking about she wanna meet my mommy. Jamaican girl with that hardy. Maybe she'll be in quick with my khaki. These niggas keep talking about money, but never spent one bag on them on me. I can never get tired of living this lifetime, living this lifetime, living it. One day I was feeling, got me thinking about my niggas that be locked in the window. Move, I will show them how they single. I tell her, hey, lily, I drop your tingle. Fine boy, no pimple, hey, lily. She says she keep on hearing my ringtone. Fine boy, no wrinkles, hey, lily. Baby really hate my ringtone. Hey, lily. Baby really hate my ringtone. Hey, lily. Baby really hate my ringtone.
So, Jimmy, if you could be so kind, would you like to take us back to when you were 6 years old and describe for me what your life was like as a 6-year-old child, what the family unit was like, and the kind of experiences that you were having on a daily basis, you know, to the best of your memory at 6 years old as a 6-year-old child?
Yeah, I think around about 6 years old, I kind of started thinking a little bit more and being aware of what was going on at the time, you know, because we come from quite a chaotic family.
Right.
A lot of crime in my family. My father was involved in it, and a lot of crime. My mum was, unfortunately, a pickpocket. Right. You know, and it was quite a chaotic life. We come from a crime-ridden life, and a lot of violence, a lot of mayhem, a lot of chaos. And I think reality, I only come to light when I was 6 years old because a big event happened because of all of the violence and all that at home. My mum escaped my father's grasp. You know, somehow she'd found the courage, you know, to get us together.
So your father used to physically abuse your mother? Yeah,
and our family, you know, horrific.
And the children, yeah?
Horrific violence. You know, my father went to prison for he really battered my mother, and you know, to the point where he put her head in the fire, and he ended up going to jail for that. But my mum said it wasn't him and all that in the court. Tried to protect him. You know, that's how close their relationship was. You know.
And you used to witness this kind of violence?
I witnessed many of violence, much more violence than that, you know, and because I was really clingy to my mum a few times, you know, my father, I was only a child, and I've still got scars today that I can remember from when my father attacked me as a child. So by the time I was 6 years old, and we was moving to London, I was a frightened little child. I was really terrorised. I'd already been, you know, violently attacked. And my mother had, and all of the rest of our family, we all had terrible fear. in the family, and you know, it was kind of a family where you couldn't show that fear. You know, we had to, and that was the main, you know, root of all of our courage to move together. And it was kind of like, stick together. If you don't stick together, you know, you're gonna be worse than what you are. So I'm really proud to say my mum found the courage to escape my father's grasp, and she moved us to London.
From Liverpool?
From Liverpool, yeah.
Down here to London, to northwest London,
Northwest London. Well, we ended up in West London first, in Chiswick Women's Aid, the battered wives' home.
So when you say battered wives' homes, from my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, these are accommodations where the woman goes with the children, which is a secret location where the husband or partner doesn't know where you are, right? Is that
spot on?
Is that correct?
That's exactly where we was. And there was quite a few. There maybe 16, 17 women in there with children, maybe more. Sometimes it was overcrowded.
Wow.
You know, we slept in sheds in the back garden, you know, proper little wooden sheds, like... So we slept in, you know, the boys slept in there and the girls slept in the house, you know. That's how many families was in the house. And it was a lovely place to be, and, you know, it was a safe place to be, and you know, we started moving on a bit more. And but the chaos, it was really, you can imagine all them families in that one house. It was a chaos as well, you know what I mean? All chaotic, battered women, all the kids and all together. It was chaotic.
And was there any kind of fear that you can recall? I know you're a small child, but of your father or other fathers of the other ladies in there, like finding you? Did that ever happen? Or?
Yeah, I think it happened once, and I think a few women went out and battered the fella.
Oh, did they?
yeah. I think one fella turned up when I was a kid, and unfortunately he come unstuck.
Yeah.
A few of them women, I think 4 or 5 of them run out, and he come unstuck. Yeah. That's
got what was coming to.
Yeah. Anyway, so I moved. We stayed there for about 18 months, 2 years, something like that. Or maybe I might have been 7 or 8 by the time we moved out of there. We ended up in Surbiton for a little while, in Surrey for a couple of months, and then we moved to northwest London, and that's where we stayed for a lot of years.
And how old are you at this point?
I'm about 8 or 9.
8 or 9,
yeah. But in the meantime, all during that, you know, when I moved to Surbiton, Surrey, my mum had met this guy. I won't say his name, but, you know, he ended up being my mum's boyfriend. Mm-hmm. This man would abuse me when my sister and my mum's went out, and I would get sexually abused by this man. And, it kind of started from there, kind of snowballed from there. And anyway, and when we left Surbiton, we moved to Halston, northwest London, and that's where I grew up. And I unfortunately... that's where a lot of the chaos started. A lot of violence and a lot of mayhem, a lot of chaos started.
If I may interject, Jimmy.
Yeah.
So what you've just described is very harrowing. You said that when you were 8 or 9, your mother met someone else, and that he abused you when she used to go out. Yeah. And then what I observed was that you quite quickly changed the subject.
Yeah.
Is that because, for obvious reasons, the sexual abuse is something that you can't talk about, won't talk about, or uncomfortable talking about, or are you okay to talk about it?
Well, I'm okay to talk about it now, you know, but in fact, I don't want to go into detail about it. No one goes into detail about it. But today I think I've accepted that, and you know, I have explored that, and it's time to move on with my life. You know, I've forgiven myself, and I've forgiven this man, and it's time to move on with my life.
You've forgiven the person who abused you?
They're non-existent in my life no more. They have no effect in my life no more. I've given them away. I've given them back.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's no.
So he has no power over you now.
There's no power over.
You don't allow him to have power over you. That's incredible. That's not something I've heard very often.
Yeah, well, it's easy to get back because now I feel whole again. I feel happy for the first time in my life. But it's been a long, messy journey before I learned how to live like this.
Yeah.
Don't forget, I'm only 8 or 9. I didn't even know who I was. I was a frightened, vulnerable little child, terrified.
In fact, when I said I don't hear that often, I can't even remember the last time I heard a sexual abuse survivor articulate as well as you just did how you've overcome it, and not just overcome it, but I can see that you were very genuine and sincere then. I could see it in your face and in your eyes and in your facial expressions that you genuinely have forgiven him, yourself. It doesn't have a hold over you, and I can see it. I can see that you are genuine, and I don't think I can even remember it, someone saying that. My experience with meeting sexual abuse survivors is that it's such a horrific experience that it's either just completely destroyed the person's life, or if there's somehow, if they've somehow found a way to white knuckle it and somehow try and build some kind of like happy life, it still continues to haunt them, so it's very admirable, the courage you've shown to be able to share that experience with me. So I thank you for that, and I really, really appreciate, Jimmy, that you've had the courage to be able to share that with me, and I'm quite blown away. Really, I'm quite lost for words. Just how how beautiful you just described how it doesn't affect you now. I just think it's amazing. So
Yeah, but we had a long journey after that. There was a lot more people, and there was a lot more abuse after that. Don't forget, I'm an 8 or 9 year old child.
Yeah.
So I had a lot more abuse ahead of me that I didn't know.
This was just the beginning.
This was just the beginning.
So
this
you
was
were
just a snippet. Yeah.
And you were specifically talking there about that specific abuser.
Yeah. That was the trigger. That was the one that was the start of many of abuses to come in my life.
So taking you back to 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah.
So you're going through this horrendous abuse, and you're very small. You're a very young child. You're only 8. Frightened, terrified, scared,
lonely, isolated,
lonely,
can't tell no one.
And I can only imagine what it would feel like as a lonely, scared 8-year-old child to be abused by somebody who your mother has invited into the home.
Yeah.
And your mother is someone you're close to, you're inseparable, you follow her everywhere, you dote on her. And I can relate to that because I was inseparable with my mother.
Yeah.
Like, I just could not be away from her. When she used to take me to school, I would hold onto the car door and scream because I wouldn't want to go into the school. And when my parents split up and then I was separated from her, it just absolutely killed me. It just absolutely killed me. It was just horrible to be away from my mother. So I'm on the same page with you there. I'm with you all the way with that with that issue there, Jimmy, because I know exactly what that was like. But what I wanted to say is, it must be. It sounds like a very confusing time as well.
Isolated time, a very confusing time, because this was all coupled with alcohol and crime and mayhem and chaos in the family. Then this was all going on a daily basis. My mum was out committing crime. My sister was. My other one of my sisters was never, but my brother. So it was quite a chaotic lifestyle. So when we got round to the local pubs, when they shut at 3 o'clock back in the day, between 3 and 5, I think, and 3 and 7 on Sunday. So during them times, our house become the local day club, So everyone from the pub would end up coming down to our house. So you'd have maybe 8, 9 fellas or a couple of women and a few birds there, and they'd all be drinking in the house, and there'd be me, a little kid, clinging on to my mum, trying to get a pound for here and there. Back in the day, a pound was a lot of money.
Yeah.
The green pound note.
Yeah.
So I'd run down and get a bag of chips and a can of Coke with that and come back and they'd be all drinking in the house when I'd be frightened little child, but like, put me eating my chips.
So it's a busy household,
Busy house, chaos.
Lots of coming and going, lots of people
going up down the stairs to the toilet, lots of people doing, you know, it was quite chaos. And then a fight would break out, and then my mum would throw the table through the front windows to stop all the fighting. You know, it was really mad chaos. And eventually everyone would be drunk, and sometimes, you know, my mum would fall asleep or she'd go somewhere, you know, and then I don't know what happened. I always seemed to be left with these people. You know, one way or the other, I was left alone with these weirdos in the house. I didn't know they was weirdos. They was just grown men at the time in the house, all drunk. And then that's where my next set of abuse started. That's when I got abused again. You know, that's the times where I was sexually abused in them times, which is quite horrible now when I think back. And quite sad, really, because I was so frightened and lonely, and you know, I couldn't tell no one, and it was a scary place to be.
And these are complete strangers, right?
Well, yeah, 90% there was complete strangers. I'd seen them once or twice, maybe in the pub with my mum drinking and that, because I'd go around the pub as well. My mum couldn't go in the pub without me, you know, so I'd cling onto her and go in the pub during the day with her. And I was just frightened in case something to happen to her again. So I was one of them clingy ones, kids, you know. And and then eventually we ended up in going back to the house, and every day just seemed to be like a drinking house and strangers coming in and out, and it was really mad and chaos.
And this is every day?
Every day, man. So, you know, every day for weeks on end sometimes, and just, wow. And it just becomes such a chaotic world. And then people would be there, because there'll be thieves and robbers, or, you know, they'd be involved in, there was always people that was involved in crime. There was never no scaffolders or bricklayers. Everyone seemed to be involved in crime. So that's what they was all talking about when I'm a young kid. So I was a frightened little kid sitting down amongst them. I was listening to all this. So by the time, even when I was 9 or 10, they would give me, you know, car keys that they'd stolen and say, go in the boot of that car and see if you can drive that car and put it in there. So by the time I'm 9 and 10, I was sitting on the man's laps there on the wheel to drive this car. I didn't know he was going to molest me, and, you know, like as he was doing it. But that's the kind of people that was kind of in the house. So that eventually, you know, from there we moved to northwest London. That was just in Surbiton, so I'm still on
Surbiton, yeah, I know Surbiton.
So that's I'm only about 8 or 9 now, so that's before we moved to northwest London. And then northwest London, it was kind of a strange, the same happened again, you know, it was just the same story all over again. And every now and then something had happened, or someone had got to jail, or, you know, so we was up visiting prisons from a kid. You know, I was always like dragged up to go and visit someone in prison, and, you know, and it'd be someone maybe that abused me but I'd have to be taken to go and see. But I couldn't tell no one, so I had to sit with my mum in prison visit. No one he'd abused me, and I couldn't say nothing to her, you know. I was too frightened. So eventually, I ended up in detention centre by the time I was 14. I was just really unruly, chaotic. I was a frightened, confused child that just didn't know whether he was coming or going. I didn't know who I was. I had no identity. I couldn't identify with anyone. By this time, I'd had kind of like strange men in the pubs that had been abusing me. So I was kind of like moved from there to there, around a couple of houses. And it just became the norm to be abused, you know. And it was just a way of life for us, involved in the crime. By this time, I'd learnt how to nick a car.
Yeah.
So I started nicking cars because these men told me, here's the car keys and here's the, you know.
You're growing up with it, aren't you?
I'm growing up with it. I'm growing up with the abuse, hiding all of that. I'm frightened, I'm vulnerable, I'm a child, but I have to have a man's mind to survive all of this. Because if I don't, the abuse is going to be a lot worse. So I had to grow up older mentally and psychologically before my body could. So as a child, I was a young man mentally. I was kind of on the ball. I kind of knew because
At 10 years old?
yeah, because I was frightened.
That's incredible,
And my
yeah.
fear pushed my intelligence to lengths that it was unbelievable for a boy at that age. You know, I matured so quickly mentally like that. But no, I didn't mature properly because I matured to what they did to me on how I matured, how they matured. Do you know what I mean? So I grew up how they grew up. And they was all distorted. They was all, you know, abused people that come from bad backgrounds. And so I just followed suit. But I didn't know that at the time.
Just listening to you there, Jimmy, something that I'm very curious about, if you could be so kind to answer. You're describing these horrific situations where you're being abused, not just once, if that wasn't bad enough, but over and over and over again, and it's following you from place to place, and it's as if you're kind of being preyed upon or targeted by manipulative, sexual predator abusers who are identifying and seeing that you're vulnerable, and they're seeing that you live in a chaotic house with your mother's drinking and she's out committing crime, and it sounds as if they're kind of preying on you. But the question I wanted to ask you is, when we hear these stories of child sex abuse that's going on in the home, people in society who have no experience of this, we often hear them say, well, why didn't the child ask for help? Why don't they go around to a neighbour, knock on the door, pick up the phone? So that's what I wanted to ask you. What stops you as a 10-year-old child from doing something like that, to ask for help? One of the examples, I asked, knocking on a neighbour's door, phoning the police. Is it because the abuse that's happening to you, because you don't know different, you don't know any different, you think it's normal, it's been normalised, or is there another reason?
Well, first and foremost, the bottom line is the first thing anyone can shout at you is fear. Fear for so many different reasons. And the embedded fear and the fear of being isolated, frightened, and being educated by these sophisticated sex offenders. They're so clever and manipulative. It did become normalised. It became normalised, and I was a vulnerable young child that they knew my mum would be in drunk, or they knew my sister would be gone, or, so they knew they targeted me, and I was a vulnerable young man, and unfortunately, it happened quite a few times in my childhood. So by the time I'd come to maybe 10, 11, 12, I started learning how to steal a car from these people. I started to know how to, nick this little thing. So I started doing a bit of nicking here and a bit of nicking there, but I'm still getting abused here and there. But the only difference is they're giving me presents, or they're letting me have stuff, or they're letting me do things, or they're giving me a few quid, and they're going, yeah, here's a few quid now, because I'm coming a very young man, so I'm coming 12, 13, 14. Here's a few quid, Jimmy. Yeah, you're sweet. Boom. Here's this. So eventually, sadly, my life become really kind of involved in crime then, and kind of like this time I still don't know how bad I am, but I'm kind of really confused young boy with a lot of learn a lot of distorted things in life, a lot of confusion, no kind of real regimental kind of normal family life that didn't exist.
Yeah, because you're describing two periods.
Yeah.
You've described so far up to the point where you're 14 and you've gone to a detention centre, and you've gone to the detention centre, and again you've been abused by prison officers, and you're still a child. But the two critical time periods of child development that you're talking about is 0 to 7, birth to 7, and then 7 to 14. Yeah. These are two very critical periods for a child. Now, your brain is still growing as a child at that age. Yeah. At 14, your brain is still developing. And in the experiences that you've described, the chaotic home life, the inconsistency with having a positive role model, a father or a mother, the moving around, the geographics, that's chaotic. And on top of that, you've got the sexual abuse, you've got alcoholism in the household, you've got abusers targeting you. So all of that coupled with the disruption to the development of the brain, your belief systems, like you said it yourself, distorted. I had a lot of distorted thinking and beliefs at this point in your early life. You're still a child, you're still only 14. Like you described, all of your belief systems, I mean, they're all over the place, aren't they? They're just an absolute mess,
Absolutely. And, this become the norm for me. It become normal. I thought everyone abused everyone. I thought this was normal.
Yeah, you don't know any different.
No. And the young lads I met in detention centre was actually being abused as well. So they told me their stories and I told them mine. And I thought, wow, everyone's getting abused.
Yeah.
Even the prison officers, when I had a little fight, I ended up getting bent up and taken down the block. The next minute I had the door arms and I'm getting abused. Yeah, son, if you do this, I'll give you something extra. I'll give you this, I'll give you that. So I was getting abused by prison officers. So I thought everyone in the world done it.
Yeah.
So when I come out again from my detention centre, I was really a frightened young man. The only difference was I was a strong, healthy young man that could run, and I was fit and I was healthy, and I was a bit more criminally intelligent.
Yeah.
So I went on to commit more crimes, unfortunately, and then I ended up, stealing cars and doing burglaries, and they become, I was arrested quite quickly, and it was kind of like I think at the time I was crying out for help, and I didn't know how to ask for help. So I think by committing all these offences, I was getting attention. Someone was looking at me and thinking, to escape the grasp of all the mayhem and all of that.
So the way you described it, it's kind of like when you self-reflect now as an adult and think back and look back with hindsight and self-reflection, your actions of going out in the community and committing crime and committing offences, those actions now on reflection was you crying out for help, but you didn't know how to ask for help at the time. And who would you ask for help from? Because you've got no positive role models at this stage in your life, have you, Jimmy? None. You've got no positive role models. You've got nobody who is trying to show you love and care and security. And like we always hear, you hear it all the time, Jimmy, there's no manual to bring a child up. Well, I don't get that, because I think you could write a manual to bring a child up, because it's quite simple for me. A child needs to be brought up in a home environment with safety, security, and with good belief systems and good values. I don't think that's complicated, is it? Is that, no. To nurture a child, and it's little things as well, Jimmy. Like when you're out and about and you see a parent screaming and shouting at a child, and for whatever reason, I'm not judging, but you see it, and when I see that, I always think to myself, the mother or the father is probably stressed, they've probably got the whole world on top of their shoulders. But like shouting and screaming at a child, I feel that destroys a child's self-esteem. I don't think it's healthy. I think it's quite damaging. So that would be in my manual. Yeah. Don't shout and scream at the top of your voice. Yeah. If you want to communicate with a child, then go down to their level. Yeah. Your tone of voice, your body language, all of it. Do you know what I mean, Jimmy? And I would be putting all of that in my parental manual. Yeah. But do you want to take us? Do you want to carry on about? So you're in and out of the detention centres now. You've got no stability, no security. You've got no safety at home. You've got no role models. You're not getting education because your life is completely disrupted. So do you just want to you want to kind of take us forward from that point, Jimmy?
Yeah, and then it continued. The same thing continued in Borstal. So during Borstal, obviously it was a bit longer. I got 6 months to 2 years Borstal training for the crimes I committed.
Yeah.
So I was in kind of a safe place for the first few months and that. I was quite safe. And I like being around lads that was like me. I felt all right because they'd all been abused as well, a lot of them. So I used to hang around with them and we all knew and would be, you know.
You got that camaraderie.
Yeah, we had that camaraderie between us and I loved that, you know. I loved being around the chaps and the lads, you know. And it was kind of like, you know, we're all right though. It happened to us, but we're still brave enough and we're dead hard and that, you know what I mean? And we'll go around and we'll forget what happened to us when, you know, before we got bored. So let's keep going. Let's run things, you know. All the falseness come out there, and then you start to learn to become someone you're not, because you have to be to survive. So from a young boy, I've become a man that I don't know, because I don't know what kind of a man I am. So I've just picked it up, and anything that to survive, I just followed it through. I just kept putting these masks on all the time. So
you're putting on a front
all the time.
You're developing what you're describing. You're putting on a front.
Yeah.
To mask and to hide.
Yeah.
Your vulnerabilities.
Yes.
Because that's what you've learned to do to survive. And you're 14, but you're like you know you've said 2 or 3 times now about even having like an adult mentality at 10 years old. So you've got like an adult. You're 14. Yeah. You're a child. You've got a baby face, you're 14, but your mindset is that of a person years and years and years.
20-year-old.
Yeah, ahead of you, yeah.
Yeah, you know, as a 20-year-old, I'd say, at 14, you know, I was as wise as that, you know, and I could talk that on that level.
Yeah.
The only thing is, I didn't know what it meant. I had no understanding of who I was when I was saying all of this, because I didn't know who I was. It was this false persona that I'd found.
Yeah.
And it helped me get through. So it helped me get through Borstal, and it helped me. And people like this false.
Became like a survival mechanism.
Yeah, they love all of that. You know, all of that false criminality, rubbish stuff that they get involved in. They love all of that, you know. So I become a part of that, you know, all that.
And it's really interesting, Jimmy, listening to you describe it so well, because you're bringing it back for me, just how that process of putting up that front continues and continues and continues, and the years pass by and you don't even know who you are.
No,
and that's a clue. And that's why I say, you know, it is a privilege of a lifetime to become who you really are, you know, because it's hard enough anyway with the social pressures nowadays in the modern age with Instagram and Facebook and everyone projecting an image of having a perfect life. You know, we're very materialistic here in the Western world, and it's just kind of took me back to when I used to put on a front. And when I think back to when I used to put on a front, and I would put on a front through being violent. Yeah. So I would be a control problem in the prison. As I grew up in my late teens, I would get recognition from other prisoners and acknowledgement by being a disruptive prisoner, smashing my cell up, using weapons to attack people and stuff like that. But that was never who I really was. And I would be terrified to attack someone, or I'd be shouting out the window of my cell, pretending I don't care, that I'm waiting for the riot squad to come and twist me up because I just smashed my cell up. But then away from the window, I'd be trembling, I'd be terrified, you know. So yeah, it's really brought it back for me, you sharing with me in the way, the fantastic way you described it, that kind of period where it happened for you, where you started to put on that front and then continued putting on that front. It's interesting.
I'll tell you now, you brought it all back for me, because what you just said, all of your experience, all the mufti coming, all the bend up, all the fear, all the smashing ups, all the violence I've done, all through Borstal, you're talking about me.
Yeah.
So you brought it back for me. Yeah. I didn't have to explain all of that. And it's not just me and you. There was thousands of lads like us that went through the system.
Yeah.
There was young men but frightened little boys. And we didn't know no different, you know. And unfortunately, because our parents or their parents didn't know any different, because it was quite chaotic. So unfortunately, it was passed down to us. We didn't know no different.
So just recently, literally a bit longer than that, maybe about a month ago, it was a massive story in Feltham.
Yeah.
You know, this notorious...
I was there when I was a kid.
Yeah, I was too. Well, about a month ago, 20 officers, around about 18, 20 officers went to hospital because the 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds who were getting so fed up and tired and sick of being locked up for 23 and a half hours a day, and they're starting to suffer mental health. They've come out, and they're big strapping lads, yeah? And they've come out and attacked 20 prison officers. Now, when this happened, and this is right now in modern Britain, right now, this is a few weeks ago. Yeah. And when it happened, inevitably, you had the dinosaur-thinking, self-proclaimed criminal justice commentators, ramming their opinions all over the criminal justice networks and circles to the point where it's leaking out into the mainstream media and people are doing interviews and stuff. You got people saying we need to give them long sentences, and they're all moaning about the symptom of the problem. And you and I both know that the symptom of the problem is the embedded and entrenched culture, the decades-old long culture in these young offenders institution of child abuse against children and racism. And the fact that when you as a 15, 16-year-old child go into youth custody in a place like Feltham, you're not really seen as human, you're seen as subhuman, and easy prey for officers to abuse you. And officers who do abuse you get away with it because there's no accountability, there's no effective avenues or channels to pursue any complaints. A lot of the children in there are damaged. But what I wanted to, and from poor socio-economic backgrounds and all that kind of stuff, but what I wanted to ask you, Jimmy, is do you think all those lads and teenagers, and they've committed crimes, and some people would argue that they need to be in there. I mean, I would have to look at each individual case to have an opinion on that. But I wanted to ask you, do you think they're all scared, fearful lads, or do you think they're like violent?
No, I don't. I don't think they're all scared. I think what's happened now, they're a different generation to us.
Right.
So I think now what you've got a mixture of is a lot of young men now, together in Feltham. And they have a different regime to what we had. It's a whole new world. They have PlayStations in their pads, and they have this and that. And they're treated like a lot different to how we was treated.
Yeah.
And a lot of these young lads are mummy boys, and and they end up in Feltham for a few weeks. The only difference is they end up with these bad boys, because there is bad boys in there.
Right.
There is young bad boys in there that have been through the same we've been through.
Yeah.
There is lads like us in there. They just learn how to do it different now.
Right.
They're doing exactly what we did, expressing the violence and running things and being a chap and running the wing and doing all what we did.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're doing it differently. Except the only is when them small amounts do it, the other lads, the mummy boys and all the little spoilt little ones, they join in with them.
So they become worse while they're in there.
So they become worse while they're in there.
So Feltham young offenders, that's really interesting, that, Jimmy. Yeah. Feltham young offenders at the minute is probably running around the number of about 80% recidivism. So 80% of the 15 and 20 to 21-year-olds that get released from Feltham, 80% of them are back in there within 2 years.
And that's because they're frightened little boys that are getting abused. Some of them, not 80% of them, I'm saying some of them, a lot of them are doing what we did. They just want attention. They're frightened, lonely little boys. They're lost in the community. They come from broken families. They don't know how to be a man in today's world. They don't know where they fit in the family unit no more.
They're confused.
They're confused. I'd hate to be a young man today, because I'll tell you why. Today, women are so equal today that the woman is the breadwinner. So now there is no dad to be sitting in his chair like when we was kids, and he had the remote, and it was his house. You know what I mean? It was not. There weren't no remotes, but it was his. He said what goes. Well, that ain't there no more.
Yeah, and you don't sit in his chair.
Well, that ain't there no more.
Yeah, I went back down to Feltham, Jimmy. It was the first time I'd been there for 22 years. So the last time I was there, I was 16. I've been to Feltham 3 times. I've been to Onley 5 times, Warren Hill 3 times, Norwich Young Offenders. I lost count of the times I've been in there, 7, 8, 9 times. Went to Chelmsford when I was 17. Went to Wood Hill as a young offender when I was 18. You've been in Wood Hill as well, the high security prison. But for me, it's very sad as a 37-year-old man now, to see that these young offenders institutions are still full up. They're still churning out lifetime chronic recidivists, still running at 80, 90% recidivism. No one cares. No one's doing nothing about it. And it's really frustrating for me. But we have to be optimistic and live in hope. And hopefully, our discussions can get a message of hope and inspiration out there to people who have got the power to change things in Parliament, and even future legislators, up and coming politicians who might still be at school now. And hopefully that's my hope, that they can listen to us and be inspired to maybe want to make a change. So yeah, thanks for describing your experiences in detention centres, Borstalls. Now, I know you got a very long prison sentence when we were talking down there in Brixton. Do you want to just talk through about how that happened, how it came about, what your life was like at the time, and then what it was like being sentenced to a long sentence up at the most famous court in England, which is the Old Bailey in London?
I think if we look at all the confusion of Borstal and DC and all that, and the childhood where I come from, that just continued right through all my teens. I ended up doing 4 months, 10 months here in YPY. I was here, and 12 months here, and another 8 months there. So I was in one form of institution or another right up until my 20s. I think all the way through, I ended up getting, in my 20s, I got 2 years. I got 2.5 years. I was in Wandsworth, I was in Brixton, I was in and out, in down the Scrubs, in Pentonville, I was all over the gap. I was in and out, just all the time, all stupidness, all drug related or alcohol related.
Just in and out, in and out.
Because I was running away from myself, because I didn't know who I was. I didn't even know, I didn't even have an identity, because I'd grown up to this young man. I didn't even know who this young man was. So I was just doing what I thought doing. And I was just screaming for help, but I was screaming for help differently as I got older. I didn't know how to ask for help.
Yeah.
So I was just keeping all what I did when I was a kid and hiding everything. I was just doing it as a grown man now, but I was doing it differently. I was becoming more violent, and I was becoming more aggressive.
What about drugs, Jimmy?
And I was involved heavy.
Hard drugs?
Hard drugs. I was
crack and heroin?
Crack and heroin. Every drug. I was a poly drug user. Anything and everything, so I come lost in this mad world of the homeless in King's Cross and the West End of London, and I got involved in all the chaos and the mayhem of all the homelessness and all the drug culture and all the fear and all the prostitution and all the running, everything was going on. It was mad. And, that was the lifestyle I led. And that's where I ended up, because they was the only people I could identify with in society, because they'd all been abused like me, and they'd all been all addicts like me, and so I just went with who I knew, so I just, if you lay down with ducks, you couldn't get fleas, and eventually I just came going that way, and before I knew it, I was heavily involved in all of this homelessness, drug culture of King's Cross and the West End, and I was becoming quite a successful drug dealer to support my own habit and supply and carry on, as well as getting involved in alcohol, and the chaos and the fear and the madness that goes with all of that, And unfortunately, this guy, you know, when I ended up selling enough drugs, not for profit. I never made no money out of selling drugs because the drugs I was selling was to feed my own drug habit.
Yeah, and the more you sell, the more you take.
The more I take.
Yeah.
So that's it wasn't. It was just like
I've been there as well. Yeah,
just supply that so I can look after myself tonight, and that's all I was doing every day. You know, and unfortunately, you know, at this time, when I was selling the odd bag of heroin here, like to a lot of the prostitutes, a lot to the homeless guys who knew me, because I knew that was safe. I knew I wasn't going to get nicked, you know what I mean? So I'd sell to my own kind of people, you know. So unfortunately, we had a few strong kind of lads that was crackheads, that was kind of like, you know, kind of bullies. There was bullies kind of like that, you know, where we run things. I run that girl, I do this and all of that. And, you know, unfortunately, when I was selling drugs, one of the prostitutes come back and started crying to me saying, "Can I have another bag, Jim? That guy's just robbed me over there," he said. She said, "Sorry." And I said, "Who?" And she said, "Him." And I said, "Oh, I can't give you another bag. I can't, because that leaves me with less, you know." So, and she's crying and all that. So anyway, she goes away. I sells another bag to this poor guy who's sitting in the doorway for hours to begging. I give him a bag. The geezer only robbed him as well and took the bag off him. So I become a bit wary of this guy and a bit angry with this guy. And I thought, wow, he's a bit big. He's a bit. I felt a bit frightened, because don't forget, I'm a proper crackhead. I've been using heroin. I'm 8 stone. I'm like that. You know, I've been out of jail a while because I'm living this mad homeless life. You know, I've been out a few months for the first time since I was a kid. I was out a few months, and except that now I'm a drug addict and I'm about 8 stone. You know, and I'm selling drugs to feed my own habit. I'm living with all the homeless people. Chaotic lifetime. And unfortunately, I knew this guy was coming around, and I knew he was going to rob me. I done my last little few drinks, and he was part of the homeless team, and I was really frightened of this guy. I was really frightened, and as he comes towards me, I just thought, you know what? I need to use this little knife I've got in my back pocket, because I'm really frightened of this guy. Anyway, unfortunately, I pulled it out, and it was a kitchen knife, a brown handle knife. You know, one of them steak knives you get, brown handle and little thin ones. It was one of them.
It was like serrated edge.
Yeah, one of them is about that long. And I had it in my back pocket. And as he come towards me, I didn't give him a chance, because I was so frightened of him, because he was going to just rob me blatantly.
Yeah.
So I just stuck it out with one hand, out of fear. I stuck him, and unfortunately, it went right through his throat, you know. And I got off anyway. I ran off across the road. There was chaos everywhere. I just ran across the road, and I knew a few little hotels where I could duck and dive, because I was homeless, and hide down the basements and, you know, all the back ways. And a couple of prostitutes had let me through here and there, so I had a few little escape routes from there. Anyway, I gets away, and I comes back about 2 hours later with these 2 prostitutes where I'd been hiding. I said, "Go and have a look, see what's happening at the front of King's Cross." So as we come back down and look at the road at the front, it's all cordoned off.
Yeah.
King's Cross station is closed down, cordoned off. There's a big tape round it. The road, traffic stopped. Police, all the crime scene investigators picking up all the bits of stuff off the street, on the knees, crawling along like that. You come at proper crime scene. I thought, wow.
Yeah, it hits you in those moments.
It hit me then.
The magnitude of what you've done,
wow.
and what, you know, what's happened, and there's no turning back.
You know?
It's done. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
And you're in big trouble. You know,
Oh, wow.
you're in big trouble.
And it was all fear. There weren't no gangster stuff in there.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to be Mr. Man. I didn't think, oh yeah, I'll stab in and start running things, and there was none of that. I done that out of pure fear. I was frightened of this guy, and I stuck him. And, you know, unfortunately, sadly, he ended up disabled. But thank God he didn't die. That's all. You know, I'm glad he didn't die. And I feel very remorseful about that, I tell you the truth. I don't feel very good about that.
So, at the moment, it's kind of died off a little bit, but it's still in the news quite a lot. Listening to you describe that story, Jimmy, it's kind of made me think about all the knife crime that's in the news, and you know, every couple of days we're seeing on the news there's another knife murder, another stabbing around London, another mother grieving the loss of her son. And it got to a point where this kind of knife crime stuff was being debated quite a lot on the mainstream TV, like on Good Morning Britain. And it's the same old kind of dinosaur, low IQ nonsense, longer sentences and all that kind of stuff. And then you had the weatherman on Good Morning Britain saying, like, look, that doesn't work because the people doing these stabbings don't fear prison, yeah? And it's not a deterrent. And then you had Dr. Akela, who I've actually seen down at Black History Month at Southampton University. He's an exceptional speaker. He's very, very good on history. He's like an expert in history. And he came on the show at another point, another period, or it might have been another channel. And he just said, look, we've had gangs and knife crime for hundreds of years. Yeah, it's not a new thing. But I kind of embarked on my own little mini research project, Jimmy, and I researched 2 mainstream media Sky News reporters, and they were both white middle class. And basically, in a nutshell, I researched a 2-year period on their Twitter accounts where they were reporting crime, because they're saying they're crime correspondents for Sky News. Yeah. And what I realised was I extracted the themes of what they were reporting. And what I observed, Jimmy, was that they were only reporting on stabbings perpetrated by black children, black teenagers or black men against other people in London, and they were all the perpetrators from poor backgrounds in London. Now, when I looked at the same time period of the same 2 years, I found countless cases at the same time that these 2 Sky News reporters were not reporting on, which was politicians getting done for fraud and fiddling expenses, high-powered people getting done for like paedophilia and things like that, but they weren't reporting in the news on any of these things. So I kind of uncovered this kind of racial bias within the mainstream media reporting, which kind of creates anxiety and fear in the community, and it incites racial hatred, in my opinion, as well, yeah? But at the minute, in 2019, I mean, our prisons are bursting at the seams. We've got, so Swaleside, which I know you've been to, notorious prison, Stabside is called now, Swaleside, Dovegate, Gartree, these prisons, these BCAP training prisons at the moment are full of young men from London, Manchester, Birmingham, doing 30-year minimum term mandatory life sentences because the knife went here instead of there, which could have happened to you. Like you said, you feel remorseful, but you feel, you know, lucky that you didn't kill him, kill the victim, even though you stabbed him in a very dangerous place, or you'd still be in there doing 30 years. And for me, all the mainstream media reporting and racial bias and all these, I'm starting to lose my patience with all these so-called expert academics as well, Jimmy, because they go on and on about this stuff and research and empirical research, and you know they make a living out of blood and death and dead kids, in my opinion, because for me it's not complicated. And you've said the word so many times already in our discussion. You've said it over and over again. Fear, fear, fear. And for me, it's very simple. People carry knives because of fear and power. Yeah. I've always carried a knife, and I used to carry a lot of weapons, knives. I've used them. I've caused people serious harm with weapons and knives. And it was all, I only ever carried a knife through fear or power. Fear, because like you've said on so many occasions in this discussion, fear because I had no confidence in my ability to fight. I didn't learn how to throw a punch properly till I was 29, when a kickboxer actually taught me, and I'd done a bit of Muay Thai training for like a few weeks, learned how to kick. I didn't have any confidence to fight. I was scared. I was a scared boy, a scared young lad, and I would use weapons to get what I wanted, power. So I wanted something off you, so I would use a knife to get it off you, and it made me feel powerful. It made me feel powerful to carry a knife. And when I started to look at this stuff and address these distorted belief systems during therapy in prison, I recognized, Jimmy, that the moment I walk out of my front door with a knife, I've already made the decision that I'm willing to use it. Because if I'm walking down the road with it and I'm on drugs and I'm living a chaotic lifestyle and I'm dealing drugs and committing offences and harming people and living a reckless lifestyle, I will pull that weapon out and use it, but through fear or be enjoying power, having the knife. So I agree and can relate to the fear aspect, and that's why, that's one of the reasons. There's many other reasons, but that's why I would never ever, as a 37-year-old man, I would never ever leave my front door with a weapon in my pocket or a knife in my pocket, because I know as soon as I do, I've already made the decision that I'm willing to use it. Because you might say you're not, but if you're angry, you might pull it out. I've already made that decision. So that's why I would never carry a weapon. But all these knife murders, all these senseless knife murders, like I said, because the knife went here in the heart instead of there, where a 14-year-old child's or a 20-year-old lad, and they've thrown their whole life away. They've killed somebody. They're all doing 30-year life sentences. And to be honest, they're running out of places. They're running out of prison cells to put these people in. Can you see things changing? What in your opinion is the problem at the minute? We accept Dr. Kaler's argument. It's gone on for hundreds of years. It's not a new thing. But mothers aren't supposed to bury their children, are they, Jimmy? Children are supposed to bury their mothers, and it's very sad, isn't it? Do you think we can overcome it? Do you think there's hope for the future here in London and other cities with the knife crime? Or
yes, there's always hope.
Fantastic. Yeah,
there's always hope.
To hear.
There's always hope, even with these young people, these young chaotic people. And you're right, there's power or fear. Whatever. And unfortunately, I was caught up in that power as well as that fear. I didn't know at the time it was power. I just thought it was normal. You know what I mean? But now, on reflection, I could see it was for power.
Yeah.
But it was all really grounded on the fear. The power come after.
Right. Yeah.
Fear come first, and then the power built on top of that. Yeah, but you're right. These young people, they just need educating, and they need to make carrying knives unfashionable.
Right.
Just unfashion it.
So you think it's fashionable now as a teenager to carry a knife?
Of course it is. It's kind of like a way of life, of London, There's a style about it. There's a bounce about it. And
they're buying them off the internet.
And I've got a better one. And look at this one.
Yeah, you're right. It's fashionable,
Look at this, man. So once you make it out to be an idiot, once they learn that they're an idiot for carrying it and how stupid it is and the dangers and the consequences of it, if they looked at the realistic side of it, of what's going to happen, because the minute you get a knife, psychologically, you've already given yourself permission to use it. You don't need to go out the door. The minute you bought that, you give yourself permission to use that weapon.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so psychologically,
yeah.
in the back here, you give yourself permission to use that weapon.
Yeah.
You haven't used it, and you might never use it, but you've given yourself already permission to use it. So you want to cut that out. You need to get that out and make it unfashionable. I don't know how we do that, but there is a way. There's always a way, and there's always hope. And to make that unfashionable and become, because the consequences of carrying that is just traumatic for that young man or that young girl. It's traumatic.
Destroys so many lives.
Oh, wow.
Countless
lives. They don't
lives.
know. If I could just show them the little bit of the 12 years and all the lifestyle that I went through, if I could show them one little snippet and say, look at that at the bad time I was at. Look what happened to me.
Yeah.
Because I ended up doing 10 years, 4 months out of that 12.
Out of the 12-year sentence?
Out of the 12, I ended up getting another 5 on top because I ran away halfway through it and escaped and ended up doing more crime and more lunacy and all of that, and ended up getting recalled and back, and ended up doing 10-4 out of a 12.
10 Christmases, 10 birthdays.
A whole decade just gone. If I could show these young people, the knife crime, the consequences of knife crime, it doesn't just destroy that one life. This young person has destroyed his own life, his mother's life, his father's life, his chances of opportunities in life. He's destroyed everything. The victim's family, the victim dying, the young person that's dead, the mother of that child, the dad of that child, the sisters, the brothers. It's unbelievable. And this young man has got his weapon, given himself permission to use it, and he's destroyed all of that, man. All of that mess. He's gonna, and it's not just that. Now he's got to do his prison sentence.
Yeah.
That's what he's getting. He's not getting nothing else. And now he's getting a very long prison sentence. And what he doesn't realise, that he's going to have loads of sadness. He's going to be really vulnerable. He's going to be frightened. He's going to be lonely. He's going to be isolated. He's going to be scared. There's more. He's going to be so lonely. He's going to cry with loneliness. There's nothing, isolation, boom.
And he's still got to put up that front as well.
And he's still got to put up all that front, all that hard work ahead of him.
And when when you're spending 20, 30 years in custody, your family members start dying on the outside, and you're going to funerals if you're lucky enough to get to the funeral in handcuffs. You'll only normally get out to a funeral if it's your mother or your father.
Anyone else?
They're not. So many people I've seen, they won't let you go to your brothers or your nans. Unless the grandmother or grandfather was a guardian. I've seen a few over the years go to their brothers, but not unless it's mum or dad. You don't get out for the funeral. You
don't. Yeah, you're right. So, and these are all the consequences of using.
It goes on for a lifetime.
It goes on forever.
For one mistake.
For one
mistake.
One little.
In one moment. It's incredible, isn't it, Jimmy?
And the misery of what they cause, what I've caused. What you've caused.
Yeah.
The misery of that is just, wow. The knock-on effect of that is just like a snow cloud that just keeps rolling. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and destroying more and more and more. And it doesn't get better, mate. It just gets worse for everyone along the line. Just that one incident of two young men, one a victim, one a perpetrator.
Yeah.
And he just sticks it once like that. That's all he needs to do, that.
Yeah.
Just that one arm movement, and it destroys all of that. And it destroys him. It doesn't just destroy the victim, it destroys him as a human being.
Children in London, and children everywhere, but we were talking about London, the knife crime in London, Manchester, Birmingham, other big cities. They deserve better for themselves, for their futures, to throw their future away over, like you say, just one horrendous, horrific mistake that just has lifelong consequences for just so many people, scores and scores of people, and someone's been killed as well. Someone's had their life taken away from them, Jimmy. Someone's had their life taken away, and it's inevitably as a result of that there has to be punishment.
And the young man that done it, he's ruined his own life. He's ruined his own family's life, his life. He's ruined not only the victim's life, but the knock-on of the mum and dad and that. Wow.
Yeah, and he can't blame it on anyone else.
No, he's got to take responsibility for it. He's got to own that.
Yeah.
And he's got to stand up and be counted and be a man.
And some people can't even meet that challenge. Because it can be
a long time, man.
Yeah.
Because they live in this fantasy world of criminality, and they live in this fantasy world of I'm a gangster. I'm gonna do this. I shot this one, and I stabbed this one, and that's all fantasy lifestyle thinking.
Yeah,
they don't live in our world. That's a new world that they've created themselves. I was part of that. I know.
Yeah,
I lived in that crazy world. I thought all of that was real life as well. I thought that was normal.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's not. But these kids are brought up that way to think that because they haven't, like you said, they haven't got the opportunities to be pointed in the right direction. There's not enough work going on for these young people in unfortunate backgrounds that need help and support and direction. And that's why these young adults, they're just wasting their lives away.
So what we can do, Jimmy, my mind's just spinning with inspiration just listening to And like you said, we live in hope and be optimistic. Let's hope that anybody involved in knife crime, children, young people, teenagers, young adult men, maybe might listen to this, and not just in the UK or America, but anywhere in the world where anybody's listening to this, let's hope that they can get a message of hope from this and maybe not make that silly decision to buy a knife, pick up a knife, order a knife, buy one out of a shop, leave the front door with it. And, you know, if we can, if our discussion can impact one child and stop them picking up that knife, then that's a success for me. And also as well, you know, we can perhaps do something in the future. We can maybe do a project together, set something up. I think the insight you've got is amazing. Your self-reflective style of communication and reflecting on how these decisions that you made around knives have affected your life and your lived experience with how it's affected your life and the lives around you, the victim. You've expressed great victim empathy. You've expressed remorse. But like we were saying down in Brixton, you can't change the past. It's done. It's gone. It's history. All you can do is be the best version of Jimmy today and just try and, you know, perhaps put something back positive into society, which you're doing now and which I know you do down in the south where you live. So I commend you for that. So if we can move on now to you've done the 12 years, ended up doing 10 years. You're in this vicious cycle. You spoke a bit about mental health to me down in Brixton, medication and stuff. So did you have any therapy, and how did you recognize that you had a problem with mental health and needed medication? Have you had any diagnosis? You know, so do you want to just talk about those few things for us, please, Jimmy?
Yeah, I think on reflection, you know, there was lots of times where during the institutions that unfortunately I ended up in over the years was quite wide and varied right across the country, and sometimes I'd end up becoming into like the isolation in prison, the fear and all the normality of what goes on the wing. You need to escape that. Yeah. Anything to escape that. You know, all the politics, all the madness, all the sadness, all the lies. He's a grass, he's a nonce, he's that. All the rubbish that goes on the wing. You need to escape that. So when you see a sticker on the window saying there's a rap program over there, and you look on the thing and you go, oh, I need to get away from all these. I want to go and sit over there and listen to them. Yeah. So I think, well, I'm going to go on. So I sign up for that. I have no idea what it is. But I know it's a course.
What's that, the rap program?
Yeah. So I'm just going because it gets
What jail was that in? The Mount?
That was in Wandsworth.
Wandsworth,
yeah. So I've ended up doing the rap in Wandsworth. And that's a 12-step program.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a rap graduate as well, yeah.
So I've done that anyway and succeeded that. So I think I've done too much therapy over the years, because then when I just used it and intellectualized it. I didn't take nothing on board. It was to get off the wing. Right. I'm off the wing. I've done the steps. I've done all my thing. I wrote loads of pages out. But
examples.
Examples. And this, I just wrote of whatever. What else did you write here? I wrote this. For the sake of writing it, just to pass. Yeah. So I just get on to step 4 then, or step 5, because it was first step 5 was the max they done. Yeah. So I done my step 5 and all that. Sweet, got me certificate, got me graduate and all that, and then I was sent to the Mount. So I've escaped all the Wandsworth landing now. So I've done it for this particularly, so I can get to a CCAT. Yeah. Don't forget, I'm still doing my 12. Yeah. You know, so I want a bit of easy. So
there's always a motive with a drug addict, isn't there? Of course
it is. There's always a reason. And it was like anything else in life where I intellectualized everything. Yeah. So that's what I've done in jail. I just learned how to intellectualize these programs. So I've done all the enhanced thinking skills. I've done all the rap programs, and I ended up going to a therapeutic community. During my 12, in my early years of my 12, they sent me, because the judge said when I got my 12 years, you need to do therapy. Right. at the Old Bailey. I was in number 8 court in the Old Bailey, and the judge said to me, I'm not giving you a life sentence, but you need to. So he wrote down, I need to do therapy.
Yeah.
So that was part of my sentence. So that's how I got to Grendon really early, in my second year or something like that.
You ended up in Grendon.
I ended up in Grendon. So I ended up big therapeutic community.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I'll do 4 years here and I'll get out. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, I'll do, because back then you done 8 out of 12. There weren't no half remission then.
Right.
But don't forget, during that 6 and 8, I've ended up in Latchmere House with all the gangsters and all that. I slipped away from Rye Hill.
Oh, you've been Rye Hill as well?
Yeah, when it first opened. I left Parkhurst to open Rye Hill.
Yeah, Rye Hill's a rough jail now.
No, it's kind of like, a guy got murdered there, you know. But when we went there, 14 of us left Parkhurst Prison to open Rye Hill.
Oh, okay. Like brand new.
Brand new, yeah. It was spunky.
Brand new cells and that.
Yeah, there was plastic all on the walls and beds and all of that. So
brand new mattresses, rock hard.
Oh, wow. And even the
rock hard pillows
are
like concrete.
When we were in reception, the kangas are saying to us, we're not really officers. We're here to help you. You can call us by our first name. We've just come from Parkhurst and we're all looking at her. She's kidding us. Yeah, we're not prisoners. We come here to help you. We're here to entertain you. We're here to do this and do that. And do you want a coffee? And do you want this? And they're making us coffee and all that. And we're all sitting there going, hang on a minute, what's going on here? We've just come from Parkhurst. So they want us to open the wing and set a presidency for how the wing runs. You know, for when all the dude lads come in, all the young lads, all the sea cats and all of that. So they wanted to set the presidency from the long-term jail.
How long did that optimism last from the prison service?
No, it was no, but I just abused it. I got to Latchmere House through it. That's
DCAT, isn't it?
Yeah, Latchmere House. That's no one gets to do it. The minority gets to Latchmere House. It's the elite of the elite.
Yeah, I've heard
so
about
I just used intellectualized everything. Boom, as you do. I had 2 little birds writing reports for me that worked in there. Blinding, sweet. So my mate was having an affair with one of them, so she was my personal officer. Yeah. So I used to write all my own reports, make her sign them. It was sweet. We had it sweet. So I ended up in a DCAT in Latchmere House. Yeah. So I'm in Latchmere House now anyway. So I'm going out every day to work. I'm pretending I'm working in a drug agency in somewhere here or South London somewhere.
So you were lying about that?
I'm lying, man. I'm not
just
even
blagging.
I'm going out every day. I'm just trying to run about. I'm doing this and I'm nicking that and I'm moving that. I moved off a bit of drugs there. I moved that. I'm going back and I'm playing the game and I'm thinking, sweet, I'll get parole in 6 months. I'm out of here. This is when I'm coming up to my 6th year. And this is my 6th year, so I could be out. I'm thinking, I could be out on this 12 now, so I'm doing sweet. I'm going out every day. I'm coming back on time. I'm not abusing it. And anyway, come one night, I ended up getting drunk. I never went back, obviously.
Just slipped off,
just slipped off. Ended up
a lot of people do it.
Ended up doing, because I'm still messed up. I still don't know who I am. I'm still confused. I'm a grown man, but I still don't know who I am or what I'm doing or where
And we don't
I'm
think
going.
about consequences,
Well,
Jimmy.
weren't, man.
We think about right now.
I
Do you
didn't
know
care
what I mean?
about myself. I didn't know who I was. I was just going to go and destroy what I needed to destroy anyway because the alcohol told me to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just didn't know what I was doing. So I just off and went again on one of my little merry ways.
Yeah.
You know, and doing more horrific crimes. You know, so I've ended up doing more horrific crimes and ended up back in Wandsworth Prison.
Yeah, same old story.
Same old story, back on the wing, back with the misery. He's a grass, he's a nonce, he's a swine. And that's sad.
Yeah.
Them language, that's the kind, you have to say it because there's no other way to say it.
Yeah.
That's how it runs, that's how they talk, that's how harsh it is. So it's no good saying, oh, he said this, he said that. I had to say it how it was said.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to pussyfoot about it. Let's have it right. When you're back in these jails, it's the same old rubbish, time and time again. Nothing changes, nothing.
Nah.
And the same politics will be there in another 40 years.
Yeah.
You can go back 40 years, there'll be different people there, but the same prison politics will still be going on. He's a grass, he's a nonce, he ain't give me a tea bag, he's done this, he's done that, he's up for roll. Where's he going? How's he get a sea cat? Why
people getting their faces cut over a bit of toast and
That was that. I didn't even mention that because I'm so normalised to that. I just thought that was not even worth mentioning. I thought, well, everyone knows that someone's getting cut for robbed or someone's getting robbed for something. That's just normal. You know, he got robbed, he got cut, that's how bad it was. I didn't even mention that. That's become so normalised, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In that life, when you're living in that life. It's only now as you get older you look back and you think, oh, wow, no wonder we have prisons.
So you carried on, just kind of trapped in that revolving door of the prison system, in and out, vicious cycle, drugs. You said, I didn't care about myself. Yeah.
I didn't even know who I was.
Didn't know who I was. You got a big identity crisis going. You don't know who you are, but you're a man. You're a fully grown man. You don't know who you are. Chaotic life. You've got no purpose. You've got no stability. You've got no education. You've got no role models. You still haven't got any role models at this point. So this kind of carried on. This vicious cycle carried on. Now, most people who continue down this path in England die early, die from a drugs overdose, get a mandatory life sentence with a 25-year minimum term. Not many people break away from this life, Jimmy. But you have broke away from it. I have broke away from it. That's why we're both sitting here today in a lovely sunny day down here in London. We had a great time up there in Brixton. So do you want to just talk about what has happened that has completely transformed your life beyond recognition in quite a relatively short period of time, because you were only released from prison last May in 2018. I was released in August, so we both kind of came out around about the same time. So yeah, do you just what's been so transformational for you, and so that's led to you in a position where you are now, where I look on your photos on Facebook and you're happy, you've got a smile on your face, you look well, you got a nice home down there on the south, you're around good people. What's the secret, Jimmy? What's happened?
So I think what's changed for me was that, you're right, it's the people that's around me. And it wasn't just one thing, to tell you the truth. It's lots of little tiny things that comes to that change. You don't get it because he said or she said or that happened. Yeah. It doesn't work like that. People don't change like that. It's got to be lots of little positives.
Right.
Loads of little things that you've done during your life. And a little thing that might have been positive, and you remember that, or you pick that out and you think, oh, that was quite good, I'll pick that out. And then you start learning, because you start learning how to feel and how to manage your own feelings and emotions, because I had no understanding of what feelings and emotions was. I didn't, never mind how to control them. That's why I kept going back to prison. There was no understanding of feelings and emotions. I didn't know what feelings and emotion was.
So you didn't know how to identify emotion? You had no emotional intelligence?
None whatsoever.
No emotional control?
None.
So what happened for you to generate and grasp an awareness of your emotions and an awareness of how you feel and why you feel like that? What was the...
I'll tell you the main thing. The main thing that comes to me was, slowly but surely, as I got to be an adult, I learned that not everyone was a nonce, not everyone was bad, not everyone was... And all of a sudden, I'm getting to be an old man. I'm becoming quite, respected on the wing. And they go, oh, old Jimmy, or Jimmy there, oh, Jimmy will tell you, because I'm one of them old fellas on the wing all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I went from trying to be one of the chaps, which I never was.
Yeah, me neither.
To being one of the old fellas on the wing, where they'd get advice and and I kind of seen these young lads coming up and asking me questions, and and it was little bits like that, and I thought, oh wow, this life's not for me no more. You know what I mean? I'm too old for this, man. It's too old.
Yeah.
I was quite confused still, but I'd learned to manage my feelings and emotions slowly and surely. I picked up a bit from the therapies, Don't get me wrong. These little places, the RAPT and all of that, and the therapeutic community, I did remember a few little things that they said and done, so I kept them.
Yeah.
So they helped me as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I picked the best out of the best what I could, and all them little things as you go along. And then I started learning little things. Oh, wow, he is a nice man. People are not bad. Oh, they're not bad. She's not bad. Look at that lovely lady.
So you started to gain some faith in people.
In people and in myself.
That there is good people and in yourself.
And in myself. And I thought, wow, what a lovely man. I want to be like that. Oh, wow, I'm taking a bit of that. I'm taking it. So it was lots of everything. Yeah, it was never one thing. You know what I mean?
So you've got a grip of your emotions. You've got an awareness of your emotions. You've got a grip of your emotional control. You're sort of feeling a bit older because the people coming into the prison are like young lads, and you know, they're looking up to you as somebody, you know, who's like respected and stuff like that. And you're thinking, oh, this life's you know, I need to make some changes here. So that's a personal self-discovery for you. That is an experience that's quite special, where you've had an experience where you've kind of become awake to your conscience. That's how I would kind of describe it, you know, because now you know why you feel guilt, now you know why you feel shame, now you know why you feel fear. Your conscience has become awoken. So moving forward to when you come out, what changed for you when you came out of prison last year, which you did different compared to what you did all the other times before, where you've ended up back behind bars?
Yeah, I think this time, you know, I ended up in Hallfield prison. Then I knew this. My brother used to go to this church. Anyway, I got to know this pastor, and Bob. I've known him for about 10 years, but I never really. He was a really lovely man, and you know, he comes from. And he used to come and see me now and then when I was in jail, or I'd see him out. I went to his church, and you know, because my brother went down there. And I got to know him over the last decade, 10 years. Yeah. So he become kind of like more like a friend to me, you know. So anyway, he come to visit me. When I got out of prison, I went into the bail hostel. So I'm in the bail hostel. But I'm a high-risk offender, don't forget. So because I'd done 5 years for arson as
That's why you're in a hostel.
Yeah. So I'm a high-risk offender as well. So no one wants to... I can't move anywhere from it. So the only place that'll take me is the hostel full of crackheads and drug addicts and alcoholics. They're the only ones that will accept me. Yeah. So I'm leaving the bail hostel to go and live there. Fortunately, my friend, the pastor, he owned a farm with his wife. Beautiful family, lovely family, good people. And he said to me, wow, James, you can't go and live there, man. You haven't got a chance. Yeah. He's the only man that's seen it. You know, that I wasn't going to survive.
Setting you up to fail.
The bail hostel was setting me up to fail. But I give the manager his due. He did talk to my friend who owns the farm, the pastor.
Oh, fair play to him
and
for that.
Yeah, the manager did. And between them, he come out to me and he said, I showed him the letter, what they said, and if I refuse to move in this hostel, I'll make myself homeless. Yeah. So I had that or nothing. Yeah, there's the letter there.
You probably end up getting recalled and or just on the street, drinking, smoking crack.
There. Go in this madhouse, or you made yourself homeless. If you don't take that, you're on the street. So my friend seen that, read it, and he said to me, James, you can't go and live there. I'm going to try and see if you can come and live on the farm where I live. Yeah. And he was like an angel that come out of nowhere, man.
That's incredible.
Incredible is unbelievable. Fortunately, I've moved to his farmhouse. Yeah. With a beautiful family, lovely people, the best people in the world. Wow. I've ended up building my own shepherd's hut where I live in. Not just me, there was loads of special guys like carpenters and, you know, loads of people to help. But many hands make, you know. Like
built it from scratch, yeah?
From scratch, it was just muddy fields, and now it's a lovely little place.
Looks amazing on the pictures, yeah.
Yeah, they're just nice.
Work of art, mate.
It's really nice in it.
And that's your home, yeah?
That's my home. That's where I live. That's, you know, that's, for the first time in my life, I've got a home. I've got a home. I couldn't believe it. I call a place my home. you know, and it's beautiful. I love it, and they're lovely people. So my life, I'm living in the country now, a farm life, and I'm kind of like getting to know different class, different world of people.
Yeah, there's a lot of good people in the world.
There's some fantastic people in the world.
Millions of them.
Yeah, but I never met them. I was in that lost, lonely little world of all that madness. But once you escape that, which I have, this road now is just fantastic because I'm meeting beautiful people, lovely people, decent people. Obviously, you meet a bad person every 10 or something, but it don't matter. The good people outweigh that. You know what I mean? It's only a minor thing now that, you know?
Yeah.
And they'll never beat the good people. The good people, they'll always win. You know
it's really nice to listen to you describe how your life is now. And it's just amazing how it's happened in such a relatively short period of time. I mean, you've built your house from nothing. You've had somebody who showed an interest in you and wanted to help you and get you out of a potentially damaging environment where you could have gone back to prison. And you said it felt like an angel had been sent to me.
Definitely.
And I could see just on your face and watching you and your eyes lighten up as you were describing your home and living in the country and faith being restored in human beings and in people, and that not everybody is an abuser. Not everybody is out to harm me. There's actually people who will love me and care about me. And that kind of whole process, from what I'm hearing from you, sounds like that process of humanity being restored for you is what perhaps, correct me if I'm wrong, is maybe what's helped you to forgive yourself, forgive your abusers.
Absolutely.
Recognize that I do deserve to build a happy and successful life. I do deserve to be happy. Do you know what I mean? And I do deserve to have enjoyment and to have fun and to enjoy my day and enjoy my week. And I deserve a nice home. You know, I am worth so much more than the pain that I do to myself. And it's okay to care about myself. I care about myself now, and because you said on a number of occasions in the past you never cared about yourself, and it's been the same for me. You know, I've had to learn to love myself, and listening to you, it sounds like you've not only had to learn to love yourself, but I believe that you do love yourself today, Jimmy. Yeah, listening to you, and you've got a blog now as well. You've got a blog which is called Jimmy X Con. Is that correct? Yeah, because I Bar Talk, that's it, yeah, because I always tweet it on Twitter. Yeah, so just keep tagging me and I'll keep blasting it all over the internet. Okay. I haven't read too much of it, but I have dipped my toes into it and read some of it. I think you're a good writer. I was saying to you down in Brixton, I think that's something that, you know, I would encourage you to carry on with. You've got great experiences, and the writing is always going to be a really positive experience for you because it's therapeutic. Yeah. It gives you freedom when you're sitting in your house down in the country, and it's you with a pen and a pad, and it's 1 o'clock in the morning. You're as free as a bird. Yeah. Your mind is just completely free. It's an amazing feeling. It's a gift. It's a gift, you know, to be able to not only write as well as you can, Jimmy, but to have the lived experience where you've just got a ton of content. You're immersed in the content, in knowledge, in experience, and it's just a case putting it continuing to put it on pen to paper, which you're doing, and long may that continue. I want to say to you that some of the things that you've spoken about in your life, horrendous, horrific sexual abuse, I want to thank you as a man, as a person, for not only sharing those experiences with me, but for having the courage and the bravery and the faith and just having no fear at all to not only share that with me, but with the whole world in this podcast. Because for you to have the courage and the willingness to be able to do that, I think is testament to your character today as a man. And I just think it's a really, really incredible thing that you've done, and I commend you for it. And the fact that you've done it, there's so many people in the world, children, teenagers, even men, grown men, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, who possibly could hear your message, and it might inspire them to stop suffering in silence and maybe open up and talk about it. So I commend you again for having the courage to do that, Jimmy. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to have you here at Crime and Justice TV. Thank you for travelling up here. You've come a long way from down there in the south to come up here. My door is always open. You've got my phone number. If there's anything I can continue to do for you, you know, I'm always here. If you're ever up in Norfolk, East Anglia, Norwich, excuse me, and you need somewhere to stay, you just give me a shout and I'll speak to my mother and you can stay with her. I will definitely be taking you up on your offer to come down to the south and come and see the country and stay in your lovely home. You got a hot tub out there as well. It's just a penthouse, yeah. So I'll be definitely taking you up on that offer when I need a couple of days away in a nice penthouse retreat down in the south. It's good to have that string in my bow now. So I'll definitely be taking you up on that offer. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you, mate.
In continuing to build the successful and happy life that you deserve, my friend.
Charlotte Huggins, Tudor Simonov, Nedim Bilgin, Lajine Richards, Dennis Anderson, Alini Mendez, Simbozo Aretha Mula, Sarah Ashraf, Asma Begum, Camille Malzi, Bright Akinyele, Glendon Spence, Shay Morrison, David Lopez Fernandez, Kamal Gibberdon Lynch, Brian Wieland, Jaden Moody. I'm not sure that is a complete list of everyone who has been killed by a knife in London this year alone. But I can tell the Home Secretary that the task force, the consultations, the more reports isn't working. What on earth will it take for him to recognise this is an emergency that requires an emergency response?
Is the street life worthy? Mum, son looking at 30, just for the instant of your 30. Nigga, it's a jungle, ain't a wave on our turf beat. Name rings bells, got them new girls firstly, but firstly, new bubs looking like Hershey's. Trap like fire with my nigga from nursery. Used to rock string belts, now it's all Hermes. Paint scratching coops like demolition derby. You heard me, OCHB from early. Now I'm with the white girls, Molly tools with Charlie. My last was Roberto Cavalli. Like I'm in the market with this fruit and this barley. My niggas sit on birds like Amani. 10 do 5 for my doggy. Baby mother misses in Ardy. Gorilla smoking trees looking safari. Staying at under 50 to my mommy.
Ain't true with my gun out, knocking on doors, but we ain't playing run outs. Believe when I turn up, something's getting ton out. Doggy, I'm arrogant, do shootings when the sun's bust out. Tricks soon come out, and then it's back to this money thing. Couple man getting wrapped up, Sunny Jim. Like we was really getting money in. My jeweler birthday every week, we used to get another in. And another thing, 1 million on this bang shit. The strap man down, kick real mash man shit. Sitting at his yard with a fire tink of Donny, got a price on him. Dumb thoughts in my head, like why you stabbing, should have corned him instead. He tried up out, jump out, creep up, then got stabbed from his knees up. Egypt, old 12, it was Knightsbridge daily, ripping off diamond APs. Yeah, them watches paid. That G was searching up the crib, but had the hostage paid that. Crept in clean, no play dirty. Legged in the beams on the A13. Then all I remember is a black and white move turned blue like them bursts.
And I was fully in the trap with the fiends with some white boy raps like Potter 16s. Ice in the kettle, no you won't see steam. I got dreams like Nas, cause my vision triple beam. Feds got tricky in the team. I was riding with the rusty, rub it down, Mr. Sheen. Philly sleep bowl, I you mean? Cats want the stones in my jeans, to the stones in my jeans. Every bill man I'm folding my pee. Young Sam's holding my G, and it will blow your shoulder at your teeth. Which other rappers holding down for East? And fam already hold it in the streets. Seen a real nigga go capiche. Cut the judge when I sentenced him to weeds. Trap like fire, iPhone on discreet. Niggas now it's got it on my beats, and I roll with a shotty in the G. If last bitch I'm in it, boost deep. Tryna get rich before I sleep. Cause the pagans wanna take me off my feet. My mum without a son, that's peak. Why do you think I move wrecky with the E and let it bang like
inspiring a generation.
OCHB. Listen.